What's going on YouTube? It is Repulse back in another video. In today's video, we have our second Chelsea news video of the day. It's pretty late in the day. There was a couple of things that happened within the course of a few hours, so we can just jump straight into it because there's new links that are, or well, returning links, but really strong opinions by a certain journalist. So we will just talk about it now. Starting off with Fabrizio talking about Xavi Simmons and Alejandro Garnacho, or Ben Jacobs, excuse me. Him talking about Xavi Simmons and Alejandro Garnacho. He says that Chelsea could bid for Alejandro Garnacho in addition to Xavi Simmons. And then Fabrizio backed that up on his own. He had like a podcast earlier on today where he talked a good amount about Chelsea. So, there's a couple of quotes from there that obviously aren't from his page because he was talking, but CST Pies was able to gather the information, and he said that Chelsea want both Garnacho and Simmons. There is a concrete possibility that Chelsea might sign both. For Garnacho, it is something later in the window, basically saying our priority right now is getting Xavi through the door, as well as Hato, which we will talk about later in this video as well. But right now our priority is getting Xavi through the door, and then if it's something that we think we can explore, then we will look to sign Alejandro Garnacho later in this window. And I think the way that Chelsea are, making this approach is because I think the further that this window goes on, the less Garnacho is going to be valued. So, maybe we do a Jadon Sancho deal with them, kind of like a loan with option to buy thing. Or we do end up signing him permanently, but something a lot cheaper than what they're searching for right now, because we do know they need to sell. I mean, they brought in Cunha and Emblemo for, I think, £140 million, somewhere around that mark. So, yeah, they definitely do need to sell. Or 130 million maybe, but yeah, they definitely do need to sell. They don't have Champions League football. They didn't get that much money from the Prem last season. Obviously, they finished in 15th, so FFP is going to be on their back. I do definitely think that players are going to go for a cut price from them. We saw Marcus Rashford go with a loan to Barcelona with a loan to an option to buy for around 30 million euros, which is very cheap for a player of his quality. So yeah, I do think Garnacho may be a Chelsea player at the end of this window. But if we do get him on a cut price deal, I wouldn't be too mad at that. But it does beg the question of where he is going to play. And I do think he could play on the right wing, on the left wing for us. And then Xavi Simmons is going to be that double 10 with Cole Palmer. So you could see Cucurella overlap to move Xavi Simmons in, or you could see Gusto overlap to move Cole Palmer in. Something along those lines. But if we bring in both, I wouldn't be too mad at that, because I do really like Xavi Simmons as a profile. He's someone that I'm really excited to bring to Chelsea, someone that I really want here. Obviously, I'm not too keen on Alejandro Garnacho. I don't really want him here, but again, if we're just adding him for depth, and it's a pretty cut price deal with pretty good wages and stuff like that, then I wouldn't be mad at that, because I do think it might be the environment at Manchester United that is holding him back, but I do think he has a lot more baggage that I just wouldn't really favor. But again, cut price deal I wouldn't be too mad at. But moving on, if it allows me to just Xavi Simmons, Fabrizio again on his own today. Apparently they do a here we go meter update. Fabrizio said that Xavi Simmons to Chelsea is a 70% chance. The Blues are closing in on the deal, and could we see him in the Chelsea Blues soon? I do think we will. It seems like the deal is accelerating pretty well. I don't know if there's more on Xavi Simmons. Yeah, there is. Fabrizio said that the Xavi Simmons to Chelsea deal is close, basically saying there's advancements in the deal. We could expect a here we go probably within the week. I do think Chelsea do want to finish their business before we play that preseason game against, I think it's Bayer Leverkusen first, and then we have AC Milan 2 days afterward. So yeah, I definitely do think we want to finish our business before then. So I expect this deal to be closed sometime soon, within the coming days, just so he can train a little bit with the squad, and then feature in that game or feature in the AC Milan game. But seems like the deal is going to be happening. I mean, a 70% chance for Fabrizio Romano is pretty high. Obviously, he sees a ton of deals just falter and break through, and tons of links and tons of rumors. So, having a 70% chance to sign a player, I think, is pretty high with Fabrizio. So I think we could expect Xavi Simmons to be a Chelsea player at some point in this window, and I do think it happens in the coming days. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe, sometime later this week, but I do think we're going to advance, especially after the Hato deal gets done, because I do expect that one to be done first, and then the Xavi Simmons deal to be done after that. But yeah, the deal is close. It seems like personal terms are in place, as Ben Jacobs said earlier on today. So now it's just down to the clubs, and we know the higher-ups are negotiating the deal, so I don't think it's going to falter at all, because it seems like both sides want it to happen, as well as the player side. So yeah, we could expect Chelsea to sign Xavi Simmons at some point in this window. We just don't know what day, but I think we all know it's bound to happen. It's just a matter of when. And yeah, really excited for him to come through the door. And oh, excuse me, that was blank. Yeah, moving on to Jarrell Hato. Ben Jacobs said that in the article with Xavi Simmons that Chelsea are close to an agreement in principle with Ajax for Jarrell Hato. We know we've been closing on this deal today. Very, very close. As Fabrizio said, we could have expected the Here We Go in a few hours or in the coming days, and I do think the Here We Go is going to be tomorrow. I'm just predicting it for some reason. I have a feeling that it is going to be tomorrow. Probably by the time, like midday UK, by the time we wake up here in the US, I do think a deal will be completed for Jarrell Hato. I do think we get the Here We Go because it seems like we closed in today a lot. Chelsea are close to an agreement in principle, which basically means that, fixing the add-ons, fixing the structure, and then the deal will be done, which can happen in a matter of hours. So yeah, that's what Ben Jacobs said. And then again, Fabrizio spoke with the Here We Go meter, and Hato has an 80% chance to join Chelsea, so 10% higher than Xavi Simmons, because I think, just closing on the deal is a lot closer than I think the Xavi Simmons deal is, because we're still structure, fee with Leipzig, but I think, with Ajax, we probably have the fee down. We're just talking how much of it should be add-ons, what are the installments, all that. So I do think the deal is pretty much all but done. And I do think we get confirmation of that tomorrow again. And DAZN says that the deal is nearly done. Chelsea fans get ready. So, basically saying, yeah, you could expect it. Here we go sometime soon. Don't know when it'll be, but, just expect it, because Hato will be a Chelsea player at some point. And I do genuinely think it's going to happen tomorrow. And then he gets, probably a medical on either maybe tomorrow. If the deal happens early enough in the day. I don't know where Ajax are holding their preseason, but maybe the medical happens tomorrow. Maybe it happens Wednesday, and then he could probably be announced Thursday or Friday. But yeah, it seems like Jarrell Hato will become a Chelsea player at some point in this window. And Fabrizio said an hour ago that Chelsea and Ajax have progressed in talks for Jarrell Hato on Monday, deal at the final stages. Hato ready to sign a long-term deal at Chelsea with the two clubs close to full agreement, basically saying this deal is happening sometime soon. Progressed in talks basically at the end game for Jarrell Hato, so just wait patiently, and then you can expect a Here We Go for him sometime soon. Because yeah, we did progress in talks. It seems like it's literally at the end game. I think Ajax have accepted our bid, just figuring out what are the conditions of the deal, and then it will be, fully set in stone. I'm intrigued to see the fee, because we know David Ornstein said it's more than 40 million euros, but we don't know the, pound equivalent. It might be 40 million pounds, and I do think that's a very cheap deal for Jarrell Hato's quality, as well as his age. We know he's a wonder kid. So really excited to bring him in. Obviously going to be a second left back to Cucurella, but I also think someone that can play that left center back role and will play a lot of games for Chelsea next season as rotation. Obviously we have 4 competitions to play with: Champions League, Premier League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup. And I do think we have the squad depth to go far in pretty much all competitions. And Jarrell Hato is a key piece of that, because he really stabilizes the back line. If we don't have a Cucurella, we're still bringing in a level when he's not here. But moving on to Nicholas Jackson, Fabrizio, again, on his DAZN podcast, he was just reeling off Chelsea news. Says that there's some movement with Newcastle and Manchester United, so, maybe some agent contacts from Manchester United as well as Newcastle. We know they're, both in for Šeško as well. So, again, I think what's going to happen is if Newcastle miss out on Šeško, then they're going to go for Jackson. I think if Man United miss out on Šeško, they're either going to go for Ollie Watkins or Nicholas Jackson, but I favor Nicholas Jackson just because of age. Obviously, teams see players with an ROI value, basically it's a return on investment. So, you don't want to pay 60 million for an Ollie Watkins who's 29 years old, and you're not going to be able to sell him on for too much. Obviously, a quality player, but I don't think too quality to pay 60 million for when his value is just going to depreciate the more the years go by. And with Newcastle, yeah, I don't. If they miss out on Šeško, I think Jackson is their next option, and I do finally think Newcastle may be able to sign a player this window. Fabrizio with this Here We Go meter actually said that Isak to Liverpool is a 60% chance of happening this window, which I think is pretty high. I expected it to be around like 40, just because I don't know where Liverpool's going to get the money to really fund the Isak deal. But if they do, they do. They're going to be a juggernaut next season. We know that. But yeah, it seems like there's some movement for Jackson to move on, and we can expect this deal to happen, actually. If Jackson does want to leave and if Chelsea wants to sell him, we know we quoted them for £80 million, and I do expect that to be paid up, to be honest. If there's a bidding war for Nicholas Jackson between Newcastle and Man United, but obviously they're both in for Šeško as well. So, you can see them, prioritize that Šeško deal and then move to Jackson afterward. But I do think Jackson does leave the club sometime in this window. I just don't think he really has a spot here. I think Delap and Pedro are both going to start before Jackson does. So I don't think Jackson's going to want to sit around and be a third striker here at Chelsea. I think he's going to want to move on, and I think Newcastle is a great move for him because obviously they have Champions League football, and it seems like they might move in for him. Moving on to Marco Corella, the last talking point of the day. Al Nasser, we know they're linked to him, didn't send any bid for him, and the player's full focus remains on Chelsea. He's a key part of the Chelsea project. Just good to know, good reassurance, basically saying he's not for sale. And Al Nasser, yes, they're linked to him. Maybe Cristiano Ronaldo wants to him, but Al Nasser didn't send a bid. Seems like the player is just going to stay at Chelsea. He's a key part of our project. So, we're going to advance with Marco Corella as our starting left back moving forward. But yeah, that is everything. Again, another short and sweet news video today. Definitely expect a lot to kick on tomorrow because I do think we get a here we go or maybe two. But I don't think Xavi Simmons really gets over the line tomorrow unless there's a massive breakthrough somewhere. But I think most likely there's going to be a Hato here we go. So definitely going to be a news video tomorrow as always. But if you did enjoy this video, please be sure to like, subscribe. Thank y'all so much for the support. We're nearing 200 subscribers, so I'd really appreciate y'all if y'all could get me to that goal. But as always, it's Repulse, and I'm out. Thank you again. Peace.